Have you ever been cruising down the road, listening to that sweet RB rumble and thought, you know what? I want to replace that sound with something that sounds a little bit like a wet fart. Well, that's what Blake decided to do. And I gotta say, I'm not mad at it because this car is pretty good.
Where you from?
Started as an East Coast vibe, now I'm going worldwide. We got this bitch going crazy. I used to take the Mazda for a drive, now I'm on the 405 like it's fuck you, pay me. We really sick of standing outside, had to push them all aside. It's what you get for trying to play me. I bet they make a movie when I die just to talk about my life. They need an actor to portray me. I got this motherfucker clear like an eye drop. I got elevator flow on a high top. I got little something stacked like an IHOP. This is 05, you would put it on your iPod. I'ma give you something that you can't forget. Put the price up, baby, add the tax a bit. Know you saw the comma, thought it was an accident. Well, it wasn't. It's about time.
So this is Blake's 1989 C33 Laurel, and the RB's been ripped out and thrown in the bin, and it's been replaced with an SR20. Now, this wouldn't be my first choice of engine for one of these cars. However, in the last sort of year or so, I've been warming up to SRs a little bit more, to the point where I actually want to build one and throw one in my own car. When we were down here last year for Fours and Rotors with Anthony's Laurel, I actually got to drive this thing. And as I said, I'm not a huge fan of SRs, but the SR has completely transformed the way that this car handles. Obviously, for one, you have 2 less cylinders, which takes a ton of weight out of it. But with RBs, they're made out of a cast iron block. But these SRs are made out of an alloy block, which is way lighter than iron. The benefit of not having all of that extra weight over the front axle is that it makes the steering so much more lighter and precise. Hey guys, so I'm Blake. This is my SR20 C33 Laurel. I've always been a huge Sylvia guy, only ever had S14s. Fell in love with a good friend of mine, C33. Actually ended up buying the shell off him. Made sense to me to put the SR in it. This is just shy of 380 wheel. It's got Wiseco high comp pistons, eagle rods, Maswork head studs, a Tomei steel head gasket, runs the Toyota Yaris coils, very common conversion. It's got 740cc Nismo injectors, and then the hot side is a Cinco with a 44mm 12 V-band gate and a GT3582R, the 22G TD06 core. So paired behind the SR20 is a Z32 5-speed big box. It's got a custom shifter, drive shaft and crossmember made in-house by Corey at Tracks Up Performance. We tuned this car, the person who just recently tuned Anthony's car and actually tuned Joel's car as well. I think this car's sort of been a turning point for a lot of people with the SR20s, as Joel was saying. I know Corey's always been a big RB man, as well as his old boy that works there. And yeah, I think he secretly fell in love with this thing as well. The car is fully certified as it sits, just a 3x2 4.3 LSD in it. Seems to be the perfect combo, the 4.3 with the SR. It handles really nicely, and yeah, definitely boogies. The engine bay is a bit tacky, as you can tell. A lot of it was done sort of either on the dyno to get shit done, or yeah, basically just get it through cert. I've been meaning to basically delume and tidy up the engine bay, but I've just been waiting for something to break, but it just will not break. So I think anyone that knows this car knows that it's had its hidings and it just will not break. So like the accessibility of working on this motor in a chassis that's meant to have a 6-cylinder is unreal. Like I can do the starter motor, I can do the alternator and whatnot all from up the top. Don't even have to jack the car up. The airflow in it is insane. I'm actually in the works at the moment of making up ducts for the radiator and whatnot, and potentially looking to move the intercooler back into the engine bay. It was like that originally, but we had problems on the dyno where it was heat soaking and it ended up being the intercooler, so we've replaced that since. But yeah, apart from that, it's a very simple conversion. Everything bolts in like Lego, like Nissan does, and yeah, it's a hell of a lot of fun. So the suspension setup is Hack-On S13 Adjusties, which I got from Ashton at Thrash Garage. I don't think people realise how much of a plug he is for car parts. He literally supplies everything. I know he does a lot for Joel as well. It's got S14 front arms to give it a bit more camber. It's got the front caster arms as well as the rear tow, traction and camber arms. It runs the GDR brakes front and rear, which I actually pulled off a car I wrecked. A lot of you probably know me anyway. I do sell a lot of second-hand parts, putting a face to the name I suppose, but apart from that, yeah, it's got S15 seats in the interior. I find them super comfy, being a bigger lad. I sit a lot lower. I run them in literally every single car I own. This is actually a factory colour. It has been resprayed. In my opinion, one of the nicer colours they came out with factory. I got that done by Vinny Keach down in Dunedin, another local lad, good mate of mine. So the wheels on the front are actually 3-piece SSR khaki motos. They're a 17x9 3-piece with 28p offset with big brake clearance. The rears are a Workseeker SX, they're also a 17x9. They were actually disgustingly cheap wheels and I didn't know they were going to work on the car, but I've tried to sell them multiple times, I can't bring myself to it. I've also got a few other chassis that I do run them on. Yeah, they're just a nice, they're almost like a European styled wheel. I just reckon they work, so I run them. Roof wing was actually made by a dude up north, a drifter, John Atwood. Probably one of the only guys I know that do fiberglass things. He also made the side skirts for the C33 Laurel. So he's actually got a really cool Barrow Turbo C33. He's on YouTube as well. It's a factory option spoiler, which again I've never actually seen before. So if anyone got some rear pods, let me know, or a JZX90 rear lip. But apart from that, yeah, Vinny Keach resprayed this. It is the AH1 Dark Cherry. And as you've probably seen from some of the photos, it's a very nice colour. So it runs a fiberglass GDR front lip as well as the WSX side skirts. It's sort of like the bread and butter for a C33 in my opinion. You can't really go wrong. So we're just going to go for a little bit of a drive and talk a bit more about this car. The power band in this is wicked. A lot of RBs, I guess you could say, even a lot of SRs too, that are around the same power, a little bit more. They come on a lot later and they come on hard, but this thing is just super responsive. As I said at the start of the video too, because the SR is just so much lighter than an RB, the steering in this Laurel just feels totally different compared to, say, Anthony's Laurel. I really hope the mic is picking up the dose on this too, because it's pretty good. So you were saying that the shifter in this is custom made, because yeah, when I drove this car, it definitely takes some getting used to. It's very click. Yeah, so it's actually the external setup, the factory external setup out of the C32 that has had the big box selector, I suppose there where the shifter sits in, welded to it, and gives it a stupidly short throw. Very nice to drive, but yeah, it's a bit to get used to. One of the things I like most about this car is the colour on it. It is a factory colour, as Blake said, but it's very rare, and you're saying it's been resprayed? Yes, yeah. Yeah, so it's super nice, and if I owned a Laurel, I'd definitely actually like it to be this colour or a similar colour, because it's just, that cherry is so good. The other good thing about SRs too is that they actually make a ridiculous amount of torque for the fact that they're only a 2 litre. I think a lot of it is too with an SR is the RB boys knocked them until they've been in a good one, and then they realise that it's a complete different ball game. Like, yeah, the stock SR20 debt is yeah, definitely nothing to rave about, but even a wee plus T, I know for example Corey's sister's got a wee plus T in F13. Unopened SR20 DE, I think it makes 14 pounds, makes 280 wheel, and honestly it's just insane. When the power comes on and how it holds it, it's just, yeah, it's something else. Do you remember off the top of your head the torque figure that this made? It was around 600 to 650, I'm pretty sure, Newton meters. Yeah, so that's a perfect example of just how torquey SRs are.
Anthony's Laurel the other week made 420 horsepower and about 546 newton meters of torque. So this car, making 380 horsepower, makes nearly 100 newton meters more torque, even with making less horsepower.
I don't know what it is about this car, but like even being on a Jussie that's literally driving like a fucking car out the showroom floor, right? It's nuts.